Hey, it's DIY Gemini, and today we're correcting a big mistake I did. Oops. Okay, if you remember, a month ago I made a rolling sidecar for the office for my cousin's dog, Milo, who loves to be around his mama all the time, especially when she's working and she's just trying to get some stuff done. So the rolling car worked in theory, but after a while, it broke. So let's go down there and take a look. Okay, so we have a couple issues. One, this is where it attached to the underside of that bed, and it broke because one, because of the way the wood is, and there's just too much weight on this side that wasn't fully supported. Maybe I could have added a second or third leg to the bed and made it fix it, or changing this joint to a lap joint rather than just the joint that I have there to add a little bit more weight support on that part. But either way, it wasn't really great because my cousin says that she does swivel a lot when she works, so that also means Milo is also swiveling a lot as she's moving around in her chair. So at least for a rocky ride for him, so it's probably not great. Lastly, the bed was a little high for him, so it required assistance getting to the bed. So I wanted to be a little bit more independent where he can use it without her picking him up and putting him back down. So hopefully with the second version, this can be fixed. All right, so now that we have our problems, the new version is going to be hopefully fixing all of those. So this is going to be now an independent sidecar, not attached to the chair. It's still going to be rolling and mobile, so that's going to stay like that. We're going to make it like round, hopefully, kind of similar to this CB2 one or this one. Just because we made a round bed in our previous video, I plan on using that same bed for this one. This should be one less thing for us to worry about. Secondly, I want to add two drawers, the top one being a like maybe storage thing for toys and snacks and stuff. And then the second one's going to be for a step for Milo to climb onto the bed. It's going to involve some new techniques today that I haven't tried before. So hopeful that it will work, but a little nervous as always trying something new. So we'll try it. To build this, we're going to start with the inner carcass and then build a rounded panel around it. To get that rounded panel, we are going to try our hand at kerf bending. This is our first time doing this, and we'll see how it goes. All right, let's get going. Like I said earlier, we're going to start with the inner carcass. I'm using a 10-inch by 3/4-inch pine to cut the side walls. This is the only new material I purchased for this project. After cutting my sides, I'm going to lay them side by side and draw some lines across for the drawers. I'm using very simple drawer slides here, using some wood dowels I got for $1 from Habitat, and it's going to look like this, basically. Laying them flat and drawing the lines across like this ensures the drawers will be level, and this middle one here is actually going to be a stretcher piece to keep the sides together. I then use my circle saw to cut the dados, and then the chisel to clean them all up. I added our dowel pieces to the appropriate locations using wood glue and temporarily added some tape to hold while I assemble it all together. Check that everything is square and then use all the clamps that I had. We'll then set that aside and do one more step before we end the day. I'll disassemble the old sidecar to get these circles so that I can make a duplicate for the bottom, and I'm using scrap MDF for this. We'll then use pocket holes and some glue to attach that to our carcass when our carcass is dry. All right, let's make some drawers. So I had to measure each part individually because I did not make this super square as I had hoped, but it's okay. We're going to use wood that is left over from the bar cabinet. If you guys remember, I made a trial version with plywood before I went on to use the expensive hardwood. So this is just scrap from that. And for the bottom of the drawer, I'm just going to use some thin MDF at the bottom. So yeah, we're just basically building a box. So that should be pretty simple. All right, we have the pieces cut out for both drawers. Basically, it's going to be a box with lap joints, like so. So the drawers are pretty much the same, except that the top drawer is going to have a bottom, and then the top is going to be open to put toys or snacks or whatever, and then the bottom drawer is going to have a top instead of a bottom for the step for Milo to get onto the bed on top. I'm going to glue and pin nail everything together, and I will be right back. All right, so we're trying a new technique today. It's called kerf bending. It's going to be a series of cuts in a parallel manner that's going to allow the wood to bend. I've never done this before. There's also other ways to bend wood, like steaming, but we're going to try to do this as the simplest way using some leftover plywood that I have. I'm really nervous, as with anything that I'm trying new, but if this works out, that is fantastic. Another route, if you don't want to do this, is using like pole wrap or like a bamboo wrap, and that will work just as fine. Similar effect, basically. But since I have this plywood, I'm going to try it out and hopefully learn a new technique today. So, yeah. I did some practice rounds and I think it's will work well. I am a little worried because it can technically snap if we don't do this right. I did use a kerf calculator online. Basically, put the dimensions of the wood that you have, the radius and everything, and then it will calculate it for you so you don't have to do it yourself. I will link that in the description. So basically, we're just going to make a bunch of parallel cuts in our wood that's going to be opposite the grain pattern of the plywood, if that makes sense. But first I'm going to cut it to size. So I actually had this out in the sun. Today is like 84 degrees. It's super hot. And I put some stuff to put the tarp over, and I guess it bleached. It kind of like sunburnt the wood, so that's why it looks a little weird, but it's going to get painted anyway, so it's okay. So to get the final dimensions for this, basically calculated the circumference of our side table. Mine was 37.68. I'm going to round that up to 39, just so we have a little bit more wiggle room, or like 40, and then I could always cut things off if need be. And then our height's going to be like 22 inches, just to fit the height of the chair. And then from there, we'll do our cuts at 7/8 inch is what mine calculated to. So every 7/8 inch is going to be a straight cut using my circular saw. The kerf is going to be basically the width of the blade is going to be the width of the actual cuts. Since my grain is going this way, we're going to do 40 this way and 22 upward. So using the measuring tape, since mine are going to be 7/8, since my cuts are going to be 7/8 inch apart, it's going to be 7/8, then 1 3/4, then 2 5/8. And what's nice about the online calculator is that it calculates it all for you. So it tells you every cut that you're supposed to have. And this is not to scale, but this is, which is really nice because I just wanted to verify that it was, because it does match up really nicely. So this will make it easier for me to just keep going down without having me to measure each and every single time. So we'll just line that up like so. And then we'll move on to the next batch. Line that up again. All right, so I'm going to keep doing that, and then we will start our cuts. Okay, this is what we got so far. was very tedious, but needed to be done. All right, so at least with plywood is basically a bunch of like thin layers of wood veneer and glue and just thin layers of wood basically meshed together like glue. You can see all the striations right here in all of the layers. So we're going to cut the depth to basically the very last layer or close to the last layer so we can get that curve action happening. You don't want to cut it all the way through, so we're going to set the depth to just about there. So I made some test cuts on the offcuts, and that looks pretty good. And wish me luck, guys. Okay, that was so much cutting, covered in dust. Ooh, look at all the floor. And my poor circle saw, which is pooped and super hot. Definitely used a lot of battery power. I went through 2 batteries. So anyways, so now you might have seen in the last frame that this water bottle is here. That is because we're going to wet the wood. That's going to allow the wood to be a little bit more pliable and a little bit more bendable than if dry. It is quite hot today. Like I said earlier, it's like 84 degrees or something. It's super hot. So forgive my mess. But we're going to make it nice and soaked with water. And hopefully we can bend it without breaking anything. No guarantees. But let me clean up some dust first. I'll be right back. After getting the wood wet, I put a generous amount of glue in each cut. We'll then use a band clamp to bend it. It does bend. Took a lot of strength. Oh my god. Here's what we got so far. I couldn't get it to bend in a complete circle, so we're going to pivot a little bit. And what is a DIY without having some type of pivot? Since this is as far as I can bend it, we are going to go for a semicircle shaped sidecar instead of a full circle. So let's recut the top and bottoms to our new shape. Alright, the new shape is on. I gave everything a coat of this pretty sage green paint I had left over for some shelves in the house. I also used caulking to fill in the gaps. To build the front, we're going to build 2 side panels and then the middle drawers. I also rounded the top edges for a softer look. These drawer fronts will be attached to our drawer boxes that we had made earlier, and I just used a combination of glue and my pinhole nailer to do so. So things were not perfectly square and it was not aligned perfectly, so it came out a little wonky in the end, but it'll do for now. So our last steps are adding hardware to the drawers and some wheels, and now we are all done. Okay, thank you so much for watching this video. This was a really time crunch because I made this literally right before my vacation, hence the nails towards the end of this project. Having pretty nails is not going to stop me from doing a project. But anyways, I hope you like this one. This is a lot more secure for Milo, so I'm hoping this will work out. I will keep you updated on my Instagram and TikTok at Hi DIY Gemini. And I probably won't be putting a video in 2 weeks as usual, just because I'll just be getting back from vacation. I think I'll be probably too burnt out, but maybe if I have enough energy, I'll do something. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.